All right, so we've got a super exciting episode today. We are with Mr. James Rink with Super Soldier Talks, of course, here at our podcast room in the USS Medbed. We got Riley, and James is the founder of a channel called Super Soldier Talks, which is one of the best channels basically on the internet with anything related to medbed type technology, off-planet, futuristic technology. And James, you have an amazing background working in some of these really, I guess, really highly secretive programs with the background being a super soldier. So number one, welcome to the show. And, let's get started and tell us a little bit about your background and kind of how you got into some of these various technologies and programs.
Great. Well, I hope I do it well because I've only had 3 hours of sleep last night. But I'm a very busy person. I'm putting on a conference, and I was trying to get the artwork and everything done with the website because I have somebody help me out. And that's anyway. The point is, so the conference is coming up October 8th to the 12th. It's for people that were served in the secret space program, such as myself. It's called the Super Soldier Activation Conference, and over the years, I've interviewed people through my podcast, Super Soldier Talk, in these projects. And I started off just trying to find answers for myself as an experiencer in these programs. And what I did is I went out and made a whole network where we all could work together to share experiences and memories and try to heal each other as well. So that's the path I've been on, is always trying to find ways of not just talking about trauma, as many of us were put through these programs and traumatized through MK Ultra, Monarch programming, and uh, various forms of mind control. So, and then we're also going to maybe share some technologies that I've encountered over the years. So, yeah, a super soldier is someone that is used on missions over and over again as compared to a sacrificial lamb. And typically, there would be a genetics sample taken and a clone body made, and the clone body would be genetically enhanced and utilized in these off-world breakaway programs. So, my particular case, I served for 330 years in the secret space program through the different clone bodies that I've served in, and my call name was Sabretooth, Agent Sabretooth. But yeah, that might be going down a rabbit hole too much.
Well, we're going to definitely do ongoing calls with you because it's such an amazing background. It's really intense information for anybody that's out there that's just picking up on this and it's starting to get into it. But one of the reasons we're also talking about is because we're talking about med beds, the real med beds, as we would call them. And in these programs that you were in, you had exposure and actually used those. And we can get into talk about some of that as well. But when we start talking about when are the med beds coming, there's a lot of people like yourself that have actually had exposure and actually been in and used these really high-end technologies that are sort of black op type program technologies. And so we can maybe touch on that a little bit too. So feel free to take it anywhere you want to go.
Yeah, okay. Well, we can start off with maybe some different types of med beds. Now, I've done a presentation. It's typically it takes about 2.5 hours to go through it. So we're not going to be doing that right now. But uh, what we'll do is we'll start off with some the basic idea of a med bed. So um, the idea is that the body is always trying to find a way to heal itself, and the problem is through stress, trauma, could be even a lot of the toxins or even genetically modified foods. It just weighs down our body. And also, of course, negative thinking can do that as well. So the body loses its balance point where it falls off into the path of wellness. So the idea is what a medbed can do is it can reset the body's natural state of equilibrium. And there's different ways to go about that. Now, I I'm going to talk about this particular device because it's very basic and simple. Now, this is called the Deems device. It's made by Chris O'Connor at lightlovemedia.com. You get one of these units if you want, but it has a different magnet here and it creates a piezoelectric field where it's a magnetic vortex right here. So during his service in the secret space program, what he described is creating multiple fields of spinning magnetic energy of vortexes. And you could either do, well, you would do both clockwise and counterclockwise. So, whereas counterclockwise helps bring in, deals with the spirit realm, and clockwise is the physical body. So, you can put an individual in these different fields and it'll help reset them. So, and then you can also apply frequencies. The Deems device has a little kit of different crystals. So, um, I typically don't really use these very much. I probably should, considering I have them here. They're going to come out. So they're like different. Now, anything cone or pyramid shape produces chi energy. So it just directs the energy. So you put the crystal on there and then you point it on your body. And I was dealing with some strep throat the last month or so. So I've been using this and I really like it. The problem is it falls off. So Chris is working on a med bed type device. So you can reach out to him and learn more about what he's doing there.
Yeah,
Okay.
James, I think Chris also was in some of these programs. Is that right?
Yes, he's going to be at the conference. So he served on the United Nations intergalactic liaison. And so his job was to negotiate with other extraterrestrial races. Typically, a breakaway group would violated particular treaty and created all sorts of issues. So he said one time the other race came in and immediately murdered him. So they regenerated him and they apologized. They blamed it on him, but he's just his job was a negotiator. So yeah, we're always going to need a politician. So that's not
James,
going to
you
go.
had a video that was out maybe 2 or 3 years ago that completely went viral, and I think that's where that document that script that you've got written out, where you really went in and did some deep diving research was. And I had watched that video; it's since gone down. But you just touched on another type of med bed, which is one where they can technically bring somebody back if they've had an issue where they've been killed or lost their life. And I think if I remember correctly on that video, there was a time frame that might need to be done by, but they could bring a portion or part of that person back to this other med bed and basically revive somebody and bring them back to life. Do you want to touch on that, or do you remember?
Absolutely. Okay, so what we were discussing earlier is basically like the Gen 1. You just apply different frequency, help the body, help like you can I'm trying to try to answer your question. So like the arm, let's say the arm is missing, right? So you would provide the information, the holographic information through the holographic medical rejuvenation chamber. So I discussed that in my book. Here, I'll show you my it's called Lone Wolf. So I have the SuperTech DSF information in here where um, SuperTech William, he mentioned that at the end of his service, they told him that planet Earth was destroyed in a cobalt bomb, and that this new German family was raising him on Mars. And at the end of his 20 years, a tall blonde German named Gabriel pulled him aside and said that we're going to erase your memories and rejuvenate you and send you back. And we're sorry. And he said that not all Germans are bad. No, you can take that. Anyway, I know it's not a laughing matter, but the point is that so what he described is they would place you in this vat and a suspended animation, So they would have these different magnetic paste or goos um, in these vats. So I'll go into that in just a bit. But uh, the during his service, they took a picture of him every week, and well, of course, they also gave him some injections that increased his IQ to 250. But at the end of his service, they took all these pictures of his astral body, and then they applied that energy and reversed it all. It takes about 7 days to reverse 10 years, so it'll take about 2 weeks to do 20 years. So now, in the secret, so that's basically what we have something called a regen tank, regenerated um, tank. So that would be used with different magnetic goos, and these nanites would regenerate the body. So you could take about a teaspoon of brain matter that, say, got splattered on the surface of Mars after an attack from one of the spider beings. And as long as it's a week old, then you can regenerate it. Now, there's access to time travel tech, so it wouldn't be too hard to go back and try to reset things. So, um, yeah. Now, we have different types of goo. Well, actually, let me pause here. Do you have any questions about that?
No, but that when you started off on the initial um, background and bio, that's a long time that you got, put into these programs. And I've talked about it briefly. I haven't gotten into great depth about it because it's better to kind of do that with somebody like yourself. And it's almost like disclosure. It's like you want to do it in teaspoons. You don't want to hit somebody with a fire hose. It's better to give them a glass of water at a time and sort of kind of understand how deep this really goes. But to talk about the time travel, that's a material element. It can be altered. A lot of people out there are familiar perhaps with Montauk or Looking Glass or time, technologies. But for somebody like yourself, you go into these programs, and then once you're done, then you go into the age reversal technology, which honestly, brother, if I get, for every person that wants a med bed, at least one out of two want to reverse their age back and do age regression. And since you've literally been through that, tell us a little bit about that and that type of an experience and what kind of a med bed system that is.
Very good. So back in the 1960s, Anton Priori was working on his magnetic Bordeaux machine. So, in the technology of the late 60s, we're not dealing with microchips. So everything, you got the vacuum tubes, and it's all large. So his particular device, what it would do is it would peer into the multiverse to find the most healthiest template, and that could be younger as well. So his particular unit was large enough to regenerate a rat. So they were not just reversing the C word. I'm guessing this is going on YouTube.
Yeah, the C word's a great way of describing it.
Yeah.
So, um, and they found that not only did that, it also reversed the age. So he was raising money to build a unit for a human. However, his backers got threatened. One of them died, and then he just fell into obscurity. My sources are telling me that the Black Ops people got a hold of the technology. So uh, so we've had this since the 1960s, and so they can, uh, we can go see here. Uh, I have something here I could show you some. I've got some whole thing on reaging. Let me pull this. Maybe I can just share here.
Yeah, no problem.
So,
Share.
base.
There you go.
Okay, so basically, what this is stating here is that the body is constantly rejuvenating itself, replacing itself. The problem is that over time, um, we go through a process of senescence where the body deteriorates about 1% per year, and so Um, Now, as it's deteriorating, so it's like I said, it's always rejuvenating. But the problem is, it's if there is a lot of stress, trauma, um, there could be toxins in the body will tear apart its own DNA to rebuild the areas that are damaged. And but in this process of constantly tearing apart, it doesn't always totally rejuvenate itself. So we slowly fall apart. Now, let's go on here. So we know that senolytics can take out some of the toxin load from the body, and I mean, there's some here's some different examples. The leukemia drug, dastanilib, and with quercetin. But a lot of there's a lot of most of these senolytics really just don't work that well. Foxio4 is very expensive, another option. And then we have the C60, which is the buckyball carbon molecule chain, which acts like a sponge, is pulling out toxins, but is that it's not necessarily GRAS, generally recognized as safe by the FDA. So okay. All right. So we have, see, I don't want to go through all this. Okay, here's another topic when it comes to aging. Now, this was I think it was Larry Solars. He talked about this with during his time in the Montauk Project. He described something called the ZTR, which is the zero time reference. So, um, when you're born, your DNA is locked to a certain ZTR. So, um, at the end of your service, a 20-year period, this ETR is moved back. Now, I don't have much detail on how this actually works, but it does seem to be an aspect where you have to reset the ZTR is important for reversing the age as well. So we're going to go on here. I don't want to go through all this. Now, we all have William Tompkins discussed how there was um, a vitamin that you could take that could not only reverse your age, they could also enhance your dormant latent psionic ability. So we have these different drugs. You can live up to 700 years of these different serums. Now, theoretically, you could be regenerated over and over again in the med bed at the end of your 70-year period. However, there is a residual that builds up over time that affects your ability to be regenerated. So there is a limit on how often you can be restored. But okay, so we can modify the body size, eye color. So there's and that's through the plasma that's discussed by Jared Rand. But let's go on here.
Well,
So yes,
and James, you talk about Anton Prairie and the plasma, and just to go back because that was really pretty much of an amazing time. They were literally dropping plasma tubes the size of torpedoes with cranes down into his lab, and I mean he was doing some amazing things in there. And I do believe there was a time for a while where he was working kind of in unison with the French government. I know that you're very familiar with Mr. Dan Winter, who we love Dan, and a lot of scientists have picked up on the technology that Prairie was doing, and then pushed the science even further, and dual tube plasma. But when you get into the plasma-based technology, that is like another vertical of types of med beds. Is that right? Like plasma-based med beds is maybe categorized as another type of med bed?
right. So the whole point is to put the body into a state of 0 point where you can reset things. So the plasma fields created by the Bordeaux machine were able to do that. So here's some more a picture of what it looked like. Um, so here's some more. If you want to take a screenshot, you can read that on your own.
Yeah,
Go
definitely.
through all
That's
that. But
amazing.
um, okay, so rabbits which develop chronic illness when inoculated with Tryphenozoans were usually die after several weeks, so they were able to regenerate these rabbits. Lintels would grow 12 to 15 centimeters in length compared to only 5 centimeters. So we could use this technology not just for generating the body, your pets could be and also your plants. So if we could get this
Awesome. Would
technology,
you mind going back up to that slide that we just passed by?
this one here. So they were finding uh, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say that word just because YouTube is so
Yeah, no,
retarded, but
but
they say that that's
James,
from fluoride. Anyway, go on.
right. So to kind of segue back into like the bed stuff and some of the stuff that we're looking at. Because I think, like giving people a general overview, a lot of the technologies that you were exposed to were coming from very advanced civilizations that were much more advanced than what we're doing here on Earth. And in fact, maybe we're, sort of using some of those technologies to produce our own. But, I've often told people that this medbed technology is coming from civilizations off planet that are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years further developed than we are. And that's kind of where, when you're off planet, you're getting access to those types of technologies.
Oh, so my response to that is yes, affirmative. So, um, back in the 1930s, certain Germans were working with psychics that were channeling information from extraterrestrials in the Aldebaran system. And these beings, now they already had access to uh, uh, or they understood that this technology could work, but they couldn't get the prototyping to the point where it was able to travel off world. So through their craft back in the late 30s, certain extraterrestrials, because they would create a spinning field of mercury and spin it at 100,000 RPMs, and it would negate gravity. And I do have that in here, the Diglocka. But this particular device was also radioactive, so all the occupants on board were going to most likely die from being on board this. So certain when it was used as the Mantis found out um, felt bad for the Germans, and they shared their technology. So um, through some of the research I've done, it was around the mid 1950s when the med beds came online, and I have a whole nother presentation where I discuss about this, where the Germans they needed personnel to build out their bases off-world. So after the treaty, Operation Deep Freeze, and it was like 1950, right, 1950, where that was when we were prohibited from going to Antarctica. It was all considered a military continent under military law. So the Germans controlled large segments of Antarctica, and part of the treaty was to bring personnel there. So initially, when 1950, uh, people would be given on a 5-year term of service. At the end of the 5 years, they'd be offered a citizenship in the breakaway, or they could come back. And but around 1955, the medbed they got access to regenerative technology as well as memory erasure technology, and that's when the whole 20 and back thing came into line. Where yeah. So there's a lot of potential for abuse of this technology. So obviously we want to get it in the right hands, right? We should liberate this technology and put it in the hands of people. But unfortunately, yeah, no need to go into the politics on that.
Yeah. So, James, tell us a little bit about your experience with the age regression technology that kind of reverts you back, that kind of reverts you back to a younger state.
Well, for me, so uh now they can take your physical vessel and re-age it, but through cloning technology, they create something called an avatar. So your physical body could either be placed in stasis, or a genetic sample is taken and you serve in a clone body. So at the end of the 20-year service, usually they don't even regenerate it, but sometimes they do. Now, from in my particular case, uh, the, uh, I would be, for instance, on a mission on Mars. We could be exposed to uh, the spider beans and, uh, like I said, place you into the regen tank, and it would take about 3 days or so to regenerate, and then you could take a whole new clone. So now they can also take your consciousness and split it into a different clone body, and I do discuss that here. Soul transfers technology. So we would have, I've already mentioned about the stasis field, and then
What about the
uh,
conscious?
soul, the soul energetic and vibration patterns would be changed in this stasis field. So the soul behind the person rather, would not remember its old memories. And then they could either destroy the old body or regenerate it or whatever they want to do. So, and then we
That
have, this
I have
was,
to go ahead. That's mind blowing.
this is William Ross. I don't even know if this guy's alive anymore. I'm kind of feel bad if he's not. But he sent me these drawings years ago, and what this was a mantis like craft that he was on, where he would sit in this pink crystal chair, and you become translucent, and then your consciousness could be put into a clone body on the ship, so you could they would create like a mantis body, and you can interact with the other mantises on the ship. So
Wow. So, James, the movie Avatar, have you seen it?
yes, now
Is
uh,
that is that is that like
that's real.
realistic? Is the way
Yes,
that's
Jimmy Payne said that he's been to Pandora, and yeah, that's basically a documentary. So you can't breathe the air on the atmosphere and all that. So they created avatar bodies that had were genetically related to the occupants on the planet. So now that's all I can tell you. I have not really sit down and talked to Jimmy about Pandora specifically, but if you want to ask any other questions, I mean, we're doing the Star Trek shows lately, and
She can further into
Predator,
comparison.
now one thing I
Aliens.
want to tell everybody watching this podcast, James is going to be doing a series of videos with us. So we're really lucky because James, you've been here to visit us before. You're going to be back in a couple of weeks. You'll be here with us in Richmond, and we're going to be doing an ongoing series. So if anybody's out there, this is kind of an introduction to James, some
Awesome.
general information about med beds. And you can send us your questions. We're going to be setting up a schedule when James is in town. We're going to go live. And James, this is going to be super exciting because this MedBed talk right now is really starting to ramp up again. And everybody wants to know, when are the med beds coming? When are the med beds coming? And
Oh,
first off, it's
yeah.
good to have you on to just talk about what is a real med bed to give people an idea. But what are your thoughts on that about the med beds and when you think that they might be coming to the planet Earth, to the general
Yes,
public?
that's a very good question. I was told December 24. So obviously we don't have any med beds, but the time timeline, it looks like around by 2027 we will all have access to a med bed. Whether or not every time you remote view the future can change, but we're looking at, it's going to be like a slow rollout. We'll start off with Gen 1 models coming out, and that's where we were discussing earlier, where you just play a different energy, a hologram, and it can regenerate. Then Gen 2 models come out, and that will they work with, I think that's with the psyche. I have to go back to my notes. So that can help with like mental conditions. And then Gen 3 is the total plasmatic med bed, where it can regenerate a whole new body, or you can whatever you want to change that body, whatever you want. I mean, if you want to have like blue skin or something, you can do that in the plasma. So that one, that's coming out later. So, and there's also a connection to the planetary consciousness. So this is channeled information. So you can take what I'll just I put this together last night because I wanted to share this today. So we are in a holographic universe, and our quantum DNA is more than a physical form. It's an extension of our soul. our origin as the divine creator so wanted us to be. Therefore, these new technologies will assist those who are ready for the awakening, releasing all the chemicals and diseases and disharmonic frequencies, which have unfortunately these poisons have created like an energetic um, signal in the body. So if we could raise our consciousness, then when we go into the med bed, it will be able to do more than just a basic healing. So the person we all need to be doing our own inner work at this time, so that way when we get access to a med bed, they will be able to do more. So that's
James, what kind of inner work would you recommend?
what's that? Oh, inner work. Certainly you can meditate. I like to use my meditation devices.
You bring that out because we want to
Yeah.
we want to showcase. You've got some amazing technologies. We have them here as well. And let's talk about the cube because this is a technology that you created, and this is an amazing technology. So let's segue and talk about that.
Very good. So the inside of the cube has 6 pyramids. They all point inward beside the box. And then these pyramids I follow Wilhelm Reich's original orgone making formula where he wanted organic resins, not the fiberglass. So I have a mixture of different waxes in here. So obviously you don't want to put this in a place where it can melt. Um, and then there's one sphere. So these 6 pyramids all point inward towards the sphere. And the sphere this particular model has a blue diamond in it. And also I have platinum, gold, silver, copper layers. And then I just create more and more layers on top of this, the blue diamond. There's like a ruby in there and sapphires. So, that this particular model is my more expensive one. So you can go to neologicaltech.com and get this, but it does have 24 karat gold gilding on these pyramids. I put so so there's a layer of gold in here. So
What
now
is the what is
yes.
the goal for that technology? Like when you're using it, what is the outcome that you're looking to achieve?
Okay, so the idea is to bring more chi energy into your body. Now, chi is a life force energy. It flows all throughout creation. It's what you would call God. So by using the pyramids, creates it's a sacred geometry. So we're talking shape power. Anything that's cone or pyramid shaped, as I said earlier, produces chi. So through this chi energy compressing into the center of the unit, it creates this piezoelectric effect through the crystals inside where they are able to vibrate at a certain frequency, which is based on the metals or the materials you put inside the sphere. So the with gold, and even with copper, they say even silver, platinum, under an electron microscope, the molecules are pyramid shaped. That's why these particular metals are great for HEALING, the body. So now, the unit that was it Riley
Yeah.
Zen Master, that one had a crystal, yes,
I have,
crystal sphere. So I don't have any more of those in stock. I would like to get more, but and it's just I got to get these other ones out. But
So
this
James, we're going to be taking all these products now that you've got, and we're going to be putting those on our Healthy Life Technology website. So the Deems device, all these technologies that you're seeing on here, and we're going to have a promo code which is going to be James Rink, and all they have to do is punch that in. They'll get a discount. They'll get free shipping, and we'll be able to save anybody seeing the videos, a little bit of money on these technologies. And you've got a lot of them. So do you have another one you want to, there we
oh my
go.
gosh, this one I don't even really use this. This is a Kusal Uch makes these. I was working with Kusal years ago on the cube, but I don't know. It supposedly puts more chi energy in your body. Anyway, I do not sell these, so don't ask. Let's just move on. So these are the Alex Shoe immortality rings for the feet and not for your hands. So This again is using magnets, as we discussed earlier. Magnets create vortexes of energy, and this vortexes is what can help reset your body to that 0 point. I don't sell any of those. I also have, of course, you probably discussed on the show, the LifeWave patches. So these provide light frequencies into your body, and I like them. I mean, they are kind of pricey, but they do seem to work, and you don't need to do this. Honestly, I don't even do it every other day. I just probably do it like 2 or 3 times a week, which is probably not. I'm supposed to be doing more, but anyway. So I've
So,
got go ahead.
go ahead, keep going. I'm sorry.
So this one is called a Radionics machine, and if you want, I can bring this up to Richmond, and we can do some videos on this. So right now,
Definitely.
I'm working with Rob Callie. So what this does, you have a source, and the source is inside the ring here, and so the source is James Rink's present day. Okay, and then we have a well. So the wells, you can put like a hair sample on there. In this case, I put like a little intention. You write on a piece of paper what you want to manifest, and you dial it in. And these different, what it will do is that uh, the multiverse contains all the desires that you want or wish for. It already exists. So if you can tune yourself to the frequency of your desire, then you will be able to manifest better. So my experience, this works about 30% of the time. So you got to do it a couple times, and eventually, I don't know, I'm still waiting to be a billionaire.
That is super cool.
Working towards it. Anyway,
Super cool.
okay. So yeah, that's. And I don't.
one
I
thing,
had these, but I need to talk to Arcturus Raw about these. So this is some kind of Egyptian healing thing. But anyway,
love that. I love that.
Sorry, I don't.
And we talked earlier about Dan's technology. We have the plasma energy spheres here, which are the dual tube plasma energy bulbs that basically spiral inward, create a centripetal. Basically, it's phase conjugation, but it creates these really powerful energy fields that actually create a conscious and intelligent plasma energy. And James, anybody watching this video that puts that code in, because one of the things James and I always want to do is help support you in your effort. And anybody that's seeing this, that is really a med bed type technology that's out there now. So even though these really powerful med beds are still a little bit out, there is a lot of technology that's out there now that's very powerful. And one of the things that we do on the channel is showcase, information, knowledge, and technologies that are available now for people that are kind of in that middle space before the actual med beds really are released.
Yeah, thank you, Sean. Thanks for allowing me to come on here today, for sure. And if you would like to check out some of the work that I do, you can go to neologicaltech.com, and you can purchase my book or a meditation cube. So you can also go to my nonprofit healingsoulsurvivors.org. I just put together a message from Dr. Martin Luther King for his birthday. So in this message, Dr. King discusses about how we have a certain population on this planet that have contact with extraterrestrials, but they're ostracized. And so the message in the civil rights era is that you have to stand up together, and that's the only way you're going to be able to deserve the respect that you should have. So that's anyway. So that message that's coming out soon, and then let's see here. You could go to supersoldiertalk.com. I recommend you go to the Rumble channel, subscribe there to see my interviews. So I don't know, I've got like
James,
What's up?
You have got amazing interviews on that channel. Like the people and the contacts that you have in this like whole segmented section of reality, which is all the off-planet experiences, technologies, and things that the average person really doesn't know much about, if anything. Like, you are so deep in knowledge, and you've had that channel now for almost 15 years, actually maybe longer, because I believe it was like 2000. 8 or 7 maybe in there. And I remember one of your first videos where you're promoting the book and you're outside of Area 51. And that, but it's like that's a long spanning career. And there's literally hundreds, if not thousands of people throughout the course of that 15-year thing where you've interviewed them and, and gotten their experiences and all the different things that they were doing in various projects. And there is a healing capacity that goes to that. So in addition to providing great information, it really does provide a healing component. And it really does give a lot of these people that have been through some super intense experiences and programs the opportunity to kind of heal and know that there's people out there in that community, and you are very much at the forefront of that. So, I have to say it's an honor and a blessing, number one, to know you, number one, and to actually call you a friend. And we've been able to spend time together, and we've actually had a lot of fun hanging out. But I'm just so grateful, number one, for you taking the time. Now, I do want to just say again that after the call, Riley, we're going to get all your products up on our website as well. So if anybody sees anything that they want to order, they can get it, off the website. Use the code James Rink, and you're going to get a discount. And this is going to be a prelude to upcoming live calls and other things that we'll do, as we get into this whole phase of, honestly, James, for me, there's like an intersection of med beds, disclosure. There's like all these different agendas that are all coming to like a point. And it's like all this stuff now, I believe in the next 24 to 36 months is going to get like, we're heading in unprecedented times. And, like with anything, it could be a little nerve wracking, but I think there's a lot of positive and a lot of exciting things that are coming. What are your thoughts on that?
I was told years ago, back in 2016 or 17, that in Trump's second term, in the second half of his second term, free energy and all the suppressed technologies are going to be released. So what does that bring us to? About 20, like I said, 2027. But and years and even before that, April of 2025, there was something very important that's going to happen, or maybe some of the funds are released to help humanitarian. It's not it's going to be like a trickle. It's not going to be like you're not going to get your $10,000 a month like somebody else. But there'll be some money for some projects. So we'll see. I think we're going to be in exciting times, and I look forward to the future. So
Riley, do you have any questions for James?
I have a million questions, but I don't think that we have time for it.
Well, pick a couple. Let's ask him a couple questions, because for Riley and for a lot of people watching this, a lot of this information is probably new.
And I'm beyond thrilled to know you, and I cannot wait until you come visit us. And then I'll kind of pick your brain with a lot of my questions. But one of my questions that I wrote down was, honestly, it was basically kind of explaining, like, with your experience with what happened to your soul and like your spirit, like going through the regenerative med beds. I don't know what all that you've gone through, but have you were in the regen tank? Like,
affirmative, yes, and not just regen tank. They have the cloning vats, and of course, we didn't go into this, but the trip seat protocol technology, where you would you lay down on this chair, and there's a memory foam that locks you in place, so they don't even need to tie you down, strap you in. You are locked in place and cannot move. And then they crank up the machine, and there's a holographic. There's this laser technology that resets your own memories, your holographic memory, and they can insert a program like in I don't know if you ever seen the television show Dollhouse, where so you can insert like a memory of
yeah,
martial arts activity, or maybe you could be a doctor or some. They always need medics out there, and yeah, and then they can even erase memories of your previous life, or they can insert a fake life profile from somebody else. So there's a
Ah.
lot of potential of misuse of the technology, or if it could get released to the public, we could heal people. Uh, we could take a child, place them in the trip chair, and I mean it's going to be all ethical manner, and then maybe I got to go back on my notes on this. I think it was like 2 hours you can learn a language. Um,
Well,
if you
feel free
do
to send
two
any
days a
notes
PhD,
my way.
and like 2 weeks you could do all PhDs, so we could end ignorance on the planet. Now I mean that particular soul has to have like some kind of like soul track where they're actually interested in that. So if you're not like interested in being a nuclear physicist, and that information may not stick, but you can, so we could potentially um, liberate our for children from being placed into educational institution where they're sitting there for what is it, like 18 years of their life, right? So if we could place release these technologies, it would yeah I think we're about to go into an amazing world in the future when we hit this singularity takes place, and there's no limitations for humankind, but
I love
got more
that.
work to do. So,
I love that. James, I have to ask one more quick question. I'm sorry. I always say I want to let you go. It's going to be a short call. You know how that always goes. But you talked about that pink chair, the pink crystals that gentleman had designed that chair with, which maybe would be rose quartz or perhaps even tourmaline. How much of a role do crystals play in the technology that's off planet with regen or any of these different things? Because I think, in addition to a lot of the technologies, there are materials like crystals, which are actually quite powerful. I'm just curious because I know that from listening to Dan, Elena Denon, and some others, crystals are very important for astral travel because they're multidimensional. They help break through traveling through multi dimensions. What's your experience with that?
certainly. So, in particular, we could take quartz and, for example, and it just amplifies its energy. So all these crystals are connected to each other in their own etheric astral field. So we could take, like, for instance, a crystal skull and meditate with it, and that crystal skull will connect with other crystal skulls. There's like an internet of crystalline energy that we can tap into, where we can access information from the crystalline realms, and even our own soul uh, could be described as crystalline. So we have, if you take a person and traumatize them, abuse them, the soul can shatter and create altars. But if you could love that person, the crystals can heal themselves. I mean, it takes a long time, right? But the cracks can regenerate. So we can take a person and provide, if we provide a loving environment, we can all basically heal this whole planet. So that's where, yeah. I'm not the expert on crystalline technologies, but that's my understanding from what I know.
I've been trying to track down Dan Willis. Elena Denon has put out some amazing crystal information. Like I've posted a lot of it in our community section on our YouTube channel, and I find it fascinating because the depth of knowledge and uses and things, even with crystals being conscious entities in itself, is a very amazing concept. Sometimes a little bit when you're hearing that and you're hearing it at my age, which is I'm in my 50s, it's hard to wrap your head around it because you've been around all these crystals forever, and then you start getting introduced to the power that they really have. So I find it fascinating, and it's definitely a subject we're going to delve into more. So James, to wrap it up, I'm just going to say anybody out there watching the video, subscribe, share. We're going to have James back on. Write us your questions. Get ready for our lives. We're going to put up 2-3 days notice. We're going to have a couple lives, and we're going to invite people to come on. James, they can ask you questions in real time. And I think you were even talking about maybe inviting some people to come meet and visit you while you're in Richmond, which we'll talk about later. But once again, man, thank you so much for everything you do. And thank you for joining us today.
Yes,
And with
thank
that being said, I'll throw it back to you and we'll sign off and call it a show.
Thank you. I've known Sean for a few years now, and uh, uh, I'm really grateful for the opportunity that I've had to work with you, and I look forward to many years in the future when we get this medbed technology. I'm in another timeline. I was setting up a clinic for helping super soldiers in Sedona, so and that's when I invested a lot of crypto. This time I ended up losing a lot of it got stolen. But so I think in the future we'll have a lot of healing centers, and it won't just be med beds. So there'll be lots of options of healing. So you'll be able to
Awesome.
embrace all whatever healing modality you want. So thank you.
Awesome.
Exciting times, man.
Thank you
Well,
all.
James, once again, thank you so much. Stay with me here. I'm just going to sign off, and then I'll talk to you here as soon as we get off the line. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us today with Mr. James Rink, Super Soldier